Okay, we're live. Hi, everybody. Got a little eye thing. Well, that's eye getting better. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. Uh, this talk is kind of interesting. All of you, all of us have heard on the news, don't eat lettuce, particularly if you go to Taco Bell, all these different infections. And then there was the salmonella infections, a number of different infections affecting food. Um, how the contamination happened, it's always something related to the water, and it's typically like the watering or the water supply, spinach, lettuce, salmonella, especially potato salad in the summertime. So there's lots of different things. So I put together a talk last weekend. You'll probably see it in about a month on CTisus related to this because we recognize that patients come to the ER nausea and vomiting. Lots of things we look at from peptic ulcer disease to diverticulitis to small bowel. But one thing we never think about, or we don't think about quite as often, what about infectious etiologies? Salmonella enteritis. It may present as CT, um, shigellosis, tuberculosis, and many different strongyloides, which is a tapeworm. So one of the things I wanted to mention to think about is when you're looking at patients with acute abdomen, at least think about the possibilities, particularly when you see the news and you get the CDC telling you, hey, look at these infections, thousands of places contaminated. If you have someone presenting with GI distress, think about the usual things we think about from Crohn's to IBD to ulcer disease to tumors, all the millions of differentials, humongous, but also think about infectious etiologies, particularly if you have a cluster of patients with similar symptoms, particularly if you're in an area, maybe you're the first case that people will find out about, and you could at least suggest or make the diagnosis had they eaten something strange. We talk about things. I was giving a talk this morning about ACE inhibitors, how you get angioedema of bowel, and by asking the question, did you start the medication, like lisinopril the other day, then you quickly figure out yes. So with infectious etiologies, think about that. Maybe you'll be the first person to discover that somebody had bad lettuce at Taco Bell or McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's. 4 guys, 5 guys, 6 guys, I don't care the place. Who knows where they buy lettuce? These days, I have a burger. Someone asked me if I want lettuce. The answer is no. I don't care if the lettuce came from your garden. I'm not touching lettuce. Green, maybe not good. Um, that's kind of in the Minions movie. The green guy was kind of the bad guy, I guess, and then the yellow, whatever. You can see that over there. My daughter worked on that. The green and yellow thing at the top of the screen, that's from the Minions. But anyway, I thought I want to make that a possibility. We saw a case recently, and we've seen several cases of a different type of worms. So again, when people are out in nature in the winter, things die. People aren't out in nature, but now people walk in streams. They eat, they travel. There's bugs around. It's been a warm summer. It's a wet summer. Bugs love it. Ants and every kind of bug you could think about, bees and bugs. And we talk about, bee bites and reactions. We talk about rashes. Many things are not what you would consider prime radiology, but sometimes people will present with those things. And when you're a radiologist and you think about them, you may be a superhero. So think about those things. You don't need to be Spider-Man to be a superhero. You need to be Spider-Man to make $1 billion in a weekend, perhaps, but um, maybe that's the only thing. So this talk will be coming out in a couple of weeks. Take a listen. We talked about TB also. I showed cases this morning, how TB and carcinomatosis or mesothelioma, primary or pseudomyxoma, can look the same. We talk about TB also causing narrowing of the terminal ileum and a conical cecum. Again, patients often are from foreign countries like Africa, particularly Ethiopia, as possibilities. But again, in the summer, there's lots of foreign travel. Where have you been? Have you been to Mexico, to Africa, to California? You think of a place you've been to. That's strange. So again, look at the spectrum. And when you're doing the imaging in the ER setting, a couple good questions. may be what helps you make the right diagnosis. And with that, I'll stop there and wish you a great day.